Okay, it's 2 minutes after. We'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar to discuss the Paycheck Protection Program Direct Forgiveness and the COVID-19 Economic Injury Disaster Loan Enhancements. My name is Sandra Smart and I'm with the Missouri Small Business Development Center at Missouri State University. I appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today and want to thank the Ozarks Small Business Incubator for partnering with us to provide this webinar. I also want to welcome and say thank you to the U.S. Small Business Administration's Springfield branch office for helping us put the webinar together today. A few quick Zoom meeting tips before we get started. Please be sure to change your Zoom screen name to your first and last name or your first initial and last name. This helps us know who attended so we can follow up with you. We will be taking questions throughout the presentation and you can type those in the chat box located at the bottom of your screen. We'll get to as many of those as possible.
I'll come later.
If you have a technical difficulty, you can also type that in the chat and we'll do our best to help you out there. We are recording this session and it will be available on our webinar library at sbdc.missouristate.edu in a couple of days. We'll also send out a follow-up email with additional information and a survey to everyone who attended. Please be watching for that survey and provide us your feedback as we use this to develop future programs. I'd like to turn it over to Heather Fisher with OzSBI to kick us off.
Hi, well, welcome everyone. We're so glad you can join us this afternoon. My name is Heather Fisher and I'm the CEO of the Ozarks Small Business Incubator here in West Plains, Missouri. And for those located in South Central Missouri, just want to let you know that we are a resource to you, partnering with the SBDC and the SBA to bring this webinar today, but we also provide other resources to help you start, grow, and expand existing businesses. So if you're located in our region and need assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. And you can reach us you can find us on the website at OzSBI.com. And I'd like to kick it off by turning it over to Christian Thandani. He is the Outreach and Marketing Specialist with the SBA, and he's going to lead us through the first set of slides. So thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Christian. Thank you very much for the warm welcome, Heather and Sandra. I'm happy to be with you today. I'm going to talk a little bit about PPP loans. The SBA has implemented 2 programs to help you get forgiveness on those PPP loans. Now, some of you have already submitted for forgiveness on the first one and might wonder why we're still talking about this if you've already done it. The fact of the matter is there's some folks out there who have gotten a PPP loan and have not gotten forgiveness on it. And I want to make sure, no one left behind. That we are able to, help everybody as much as we can, get as much out of this program as they can here in our local area. So that's the purpose and why we're still going through that. I do want to mention that the information is effective of today, and the program could change or things could change. And we've seen some changes in this program in the past. However, it's been fairly stable recently. So with that, I again would like to thank all of you for attending. Thank you for this participation in this program. And thank you for allowing me to turn off my camera while I present to kind of preserve bandwidth here. So as I said, we're going to talk about 2 programs or 2 things that the Small Business Administration has implemented in order to help you with your PPP loans. COVID revenue reduction, score, and direct forgiveness. So this information is a little bit outdated. We have loans of $150,000 and less do represent 93% of outstanding PPP loans, but the rate of forgiveness has been increasing rather quickly, and there are a lot less of those loans remaining to be forgiven. The 2 solutions that the SBA developed have worked extremely well in reducing that $6.5 million number. Again, it's the COVID revenue reduction score and the direct forgiveness. So the direct forgiveness is a portal on the SBA's website that allows you to digitally fill out the 3508S form. For lenders, if your bank opts in, you can go onto the SBA's platform and file for forgiveness for either a first or second draw. The platform will send your application to the lender, who will then check it and then send it to the SBA. Borrowers cannot use the SBA's direct forgiveness platform when their loan amount is greater than $150,000, if their lender does not opt into the platform. If the borrower does not agree with the data, once you log in, if the data in the platform is different than, if you see a discrepancy, you're not allowed to change it, or you won't allow to change it. The reason for that is that information is on our core systems, and that means that there's something wrong between you, the lender, and us that has to be corrected before you can apply for direct forgiveness. There are other reasons why the platform rejects the borrower's submission. If the platform does reject it, you can just go back to your lender and follow instructions from them how to submit a forgiveness application. So the COVID revenue reduction score is for second draw loans. And if we remember your second draw of PPP, you had to show a 25% reduction. If the SBA is scoring all second draw PPP loans $150,000 or less, and that score is visible to all lenders. If you receive a passing score and your lender has opted to use that score, you do not have to provide any documentation showing the reduction. So this is exciting. I've spoke to quite a few community bankers, and they said a large percentage of their loans did get a passing score. So it greatly reduced the amount of documentation that you would have to provide to get forgiveness on that second draw. When the score validates, or it's, let's say, passing or green, if the borrower has not provided documentation to the lender, and the score will satisfy the requirement for the borrower to document the revenue reduction. If you've already provided documentation to the lender is required to use that documentation to make a forgiveness decision. When the score does not validate, for some reason, if you don't get a passing score, that is when you'll have to upload documentation directly in the portal or give it to the lender, whichever process you're using, in order to get your forgiveness on that second draw. Loans of $150,000 and less were not required upfront by SBA policy to provide a 25% revenue reduction. However, most lenders did require some documentation before they would make the loan. Regardless whether the lender opts in to the direct forgiveness and the revenue reduction, if the lender has documentation or knows that the borrower is ineligible, they cannot just solely get the revenue reduction score passing and recommend a passing thing. They have to do the right thing for the program. So that's kind of an overview, and what I'd like to show you today is the user guide for the direct forgiveness portal. Now there is just the user guide is available on the website, and it's going to be on this next slide. So when you first log into the website, and here's the address right here, directforgiveness.sba.gov. Now, before you hastily start writing that out and trying to take notes, I do want to remind you that we will provide a copy of these slides to everybody who is attending today. So you'll be able to get all of that, and that will be handed out by Heather and Sandra, our resource partners. And I will assure you we will be sending that to you. MS Edge or Google Chrome is browsers that are recommended. And your loan has to be $150,000 or less, and you cannot have multiple loans over 150. That would require you to use a form, not the 3508S. If you need to use the standard form or the EZ form, you should not use the portal. Right here in the bottom right-hand corner of this is not a live look, this is a picture, but they've added this user guide right there. So you can go in there and it will show you slide by slide, just like I am, but it's updated to the minute, the steps required and help tips to get through the portal. Direct Forgiveness Portal. So, to sign up, you're going to have to register an application, make a username, a password, one of those fun, long string of letters and special characters will be required. Just what everybody wanted, another password to try to remember. You should use an email address that you have consistent access to, meaning be very careful about what you put in for your email address. Once your email address goes in here, it cannot be changed. I have people who put a wrong email address in here or other places, and if you do, it causes a lot of issues. And if you don't, aren't certain you will have access to that email in a couple of weeks, please use one that you have access to. Remember to use a password that must meet the security criteria. Play one of those fun games with the letters, verify you're not a robot, and select sign up. So you will have to get 2 emails in order to complete your registration. Again, you'll have to confirm your email address. Going back to what I was saying, you need to have one that you have consistent access to. Make sure that, if you can able to look in the spam or, have control over if you can look in the spam folders and so forth. They're going to send you 2 email addresses. You have to click on them and go through them to get through the security system. Again, email addresses, once put in, it cannot be changed. Direct Forgiveness Portal sign in. So once you've gone through and verified your email address, you'll be able to use your username, password that you created, and hit sign in. Then, because we take security very seriously, we're going to do SMS 2-factor criteria, meaning you need to put in a cell phone number that we can text to you that will, further protect your confidential information. So once you get through the security features and set up all the security, you will be at a page that looks like this. And in here, you will have this option to start a new forgiveness request. It's right here. It's number 1. And you're going to hit number 1. To complete this, it's going to ask you for your PPP loan number and your tax identification number. Once you're able to put both of those in, I was ahead of myself a little bit. Once you put in your EIN, SSN, or ITIN, whichever you used on the PPP loan, and the PPP loan number, if you hit find your loan, it will pre-fill much of the application for you. Legal name, phone number, EIN. So then you're going to go through and fill in title, contact name, email, primary email address. I think, again, grayed out because that's what was on the, won't be able to change that. And then last, number 3 is, pardon me, phone's ringing. Number 3 is, I can pull out my handy dandy laser pointer here again. There it is. Number 3 is NAICS code. And a lot of you might not know what an NAICS code is, and that's okay. If you need to know what your NAICS stands for North American Industry Classification System. This is a 6-digit number that identifies what category your business falls in. By using this, we can tell how many loans, say, in the education industry, how many loans in the construction industry, and so forth. The SBA uses this data to go through and sort some of this data out. And so, if you do not know your NAICS code, I will be sharing with you at the end of the slides a number that you can call. That's probably 30% of the phone calls they get. What's an NAICS code and how do I figure it out? That is a call I get quite a bit at times. And I'm sure Sandra and Heather actually get those as well. And, you know, we're all willing to help you out with that. If you want to call the call center, they're probably open a little bit longer than I am and later. But if you want to call a human and talk to a person, maybe somebody in the area, reach out to one of us and we'll help you with that NAICS code. And that goes for that phone number. If you're having trouble with the security system, having trouble with this portal, whatever it is, I've got a phone number that can help you out. They will go through and try to help you with this, either getting through portal mechanics or with some of the questions. There is one other more difficult question coming up. And again, do not panic, help is available. So here, if there are a few questions you have to answer, if the lender provided additional funds as part of the PPP loan increase, that's happened to very few folks. If you don't know what it means, just click no. Covered period from drop down, you're going to choose 8 weeks, 24 weeks, or other. And then if it's a second draw, you're going to be asked for the gross receipts for 2019 and 2020, and you'll have to fill those in. Number of employees at the time of PPP loan application, that would be way back when you got the PPP loan. Number of employees at time of forgiveness, you got to put that in for today. Select yes or no, amount spent on PPP payroll. You have to have spent by program guidelines 60% on payroll. Many of you spent more. That's okay. If you spent all the PPP funds, if you spent more than the PPP loan amount on payroll during the 24 weeks of this program, then put the whole loan amount in there. Requested forgiveness amount, hopefully you have spent sufficient on payroll and you can request the whole loan will be forgiven. Demographic details are optional, and then select next. Required documents will be shown. So this shows what it looks like if there's no documentation. Select drop down, select choose file. If you need to upload something, it will be in there. It says no documentation, but then it says supporting documents. If no documentation is required, it won't tell you, you shouldn't be in the, it should tell you no documentation is required. This one says documentation needed. And in this box, it says revenue reduction required. It says revenue reduction because you did not get a passing COVID score or some other reason. In that, you're going to update. Here's 3 statements of what you can update for or upload to show your revenue reduction. And again, if you need help calculating that or preparing these documents, please reach out to one of our resource partners. I'll be happy to assist you with it. So then you get it all put together and it all looks good. You got your PPP loan amount here on the left-hand side. It matches the PPP forgiveness amount. You know, all that looks good. All this looks good. If you hit submit right here, you'll go on to the signing ceremony. If you hit withdraw request, you'll be able to go back and make any changes to the fields that you entered. Let's say your forgiveness amount doesn't match your loan amount. And you're like, that's not right. Hit the withdraw request, go back, fill in, figure out which one of those, whichever box you goofed up, and continue back through the process. Loan details. So let's say you're missing items or they don't have something and you hit submit and complete. It's going to tell you that you missed a box. Fill in the box, go back. You can click right on the line right there. It'll take you to what the field you missed and you can move through. So let's say everything looked good, you hit complete, and the signing ceremony, this is what the signing ceremony looks like. First, you have to agree to use the electronic records, then you hit continue. Then you got to initial a few places on the form. This is the actual form that the portal helped you fill out. It takes your previous answers that you put in the portal and puts it on our 3508S form. This goes to your lender and then goes to the SBA. Let's say you're looking at the form and something don't look right. This is your last chance before it goes to the lender to decline to sign. If you decline to sign, because of some change you saw on the portal, you printed out the form and you're looking at it, you're like, oh, I blew that, I need to fix it. DocuSign was declined to find. This can take a few minutes for processing. Once you go to the signing ceremony and you withdraw out of the signing ceremony, it takes about 15 minutes for it to come back. So just be patient on that one. And hopefully it doesn't take too long that you get the ability to go make your correction that you need to, and then go back in and sign. So you've gone through this thing and everything looked good. You hit thank you for submitting request. You got a full forgiveness. The general support phone number that I was telling you about is for the bank is here. I've got another phone number for you to call if you don't want to call the bank and you want to call the SBA and ask them the question. We have a call center dedicated for that. It will say, thank you for submitting your request. It has to be processed by DocuSign, which is down here, e-signature out for processing. You'll be able to log back into this form and see where is the status of my forgiveness application. So your forgiveness application goes to the lender. The lender has a couple different choices. They can approve, say looks good, and forward it on to the SBA. They can send it back to you for correction, or they can deny it. If they send it back to you for correction and you use the portal, it says you'll get a notice like this. You'll get an email notifying you that you need to make corrections. Details will be on the summary page, and you borrower correction is required. Withdraw the request, and then you'll be able to make the changes, and then you can go forward. So here on the other side, it'll be first e-signature processing, submission sent to lender, submitted to lender. If the lender approves it, and then it goes to the SBA. You can see it move through the marks right on the left. You can log in and see where it goes. A lot of these are clearing through in 7 days or less. The pace is very frenetic on it. So this letter is important because a lot of accountants are asking them, saying, you know, you got a PPP loan, you got it forgiven. The Small Business Administration sends out a letter when you get it forgiven. If you don't use the portal and you go directly through your lender, you have to ask your lender for this letter. If you use the portal, we upload this letter right into the portal. You should keep it for your taxes. Tell you the borrower, the lender of record, the loan number, the approval date, the disbursement amount, the forgiveness requested by lender, forgiveness amount remitted, and the payment date. Some of that interest that was accrued at 1% will be paid out by the SBA to the lender and then back to you to pay off your loan. Before I roll away from that, it does have other directions in here. When you do get a PPP loan, you're required to retain records relative to the loan forgiveness application that prove compliance with the Small Business Act for 4 years. So keep those with your taxes. Keep all of that information. You're not required on a 3508S, or if your loan amount is under $150,000, to prove the amount in payroll. However, I strongly recommend getting this letter and all of the substantiation that shows you used the loan proceeds in a correct manner, and keep that with your tax returns. All right, so here comes that phone number I was promising you. The last page of the slides, or the forgiveness portion of the slides, has the Direct Forgiveness Portal, that hotline I talked to you about, and FAQs online. So if you had a question, you want to browse through the FAQs, click here and it'll take you right to it. It's updated somewhat regularly. And then the forgiveness hotline. Need help with the NAICS code, need help with can't figure out why you're not getting a full forgiveness amount, can't get through the security system, call the hotline, they'll help you out. If you're still confused or still want help or just want to talk to a person here in Southwest Missouri, you can call Heather, you can call Sandy, you can call me. That is the remainder of my app. That's the end of my video or portion of the presentation. I do want to remind you one last time that that is information that is as of today. Changes to the program can happen. However, they are usually well communicated, and if again you have a question, please reach out to one of our resource partners. And with that, I'm going to welcome Ram, who's going to talk about the EIDL loans, economic injury disaster loans, and some of the changes. Ram is also, Ram Besnet is the Springfield, Missouri branch manager, works with me here in Springfield. With that, Ram, please take it away.
All right. Thank you, Christian. And thank you, Heather and Sandra, for putting this together and providing us this opportunity. Before I share my screen here, I have a disclaimer. SBH participation or support is not an endorsement of any product, services, or entity. It is customary for us to mention that. And then, like Christian mentioned, the information is accurate as of today, October 27th, 2021. All right, I'm going to turn off my video here just to conserve the bandwidth and then start sharing my screen. All right, if one of you could let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Thanks, Ram.
All right, perfect. Okay, well, many of you are probably already familiar with the SBA's COVID-19 economic injury disaster loans. There has been some program updates. I will provide a high-level overview of the loan program itself and also the updates. Okay. So at a high level, the COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan is a low-interest loan program. It's a 3.75% 30-year fixed for businesses. And then it also has a 2 years of deferment. The reduced payment burden, again, with that 30-year fixed rate, your monthly payment becomes substantially smaller than monthly payments that are available out there in the market. Flexible uses, you can use COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan funds on any normal operating expenses, working capital, including paying business debt. And then unlike PPP, the economic injury disaster loan is obtained directly through the SBA, and I'll share a website where you apply for that loan. Okay. So here are some highlights of the changes. One of them is the cap has been increased from 500,000 to 2 million. There was an exclusivity period until October 8th, which we are already past that. Because of new changes now, the program allows borrowers to use funds to apply to make payments and prepayment of commercial debt and regularly scheduled payments of federal debt or any government guaranteed debt. The key difference here is for commercial debt, payment and prepayment of commercial debt, but for federal debt, only regularly scheduled payments. It also allows for 24 months of deferment from loan origination. you still need to know that interest will continue to accrue during the deferment. The affiliation rules have been simplified. An affiliate is a business that you control or in which you have 50% or more ownership. And then we have created additional way to meet program size standards for businesses assigned certain North American industry classification system codes, primarily in hospitality industry. The last but not the least is we added 10 million limit on maximum aggregate COVID EIDL loans to a single corporate entity. Entities are part of a single corporate group if they are majority owned directly or indirectly by a common parent. And again, we'll make these slides available to you so that you have this information. Okay. And again, many of you are already familiar with this loan program. I'll just highlight some of the key changes. The cap has been lifted from 500,000 to up to 2 million for individual small businesses. The loans they will be deferred for 24 months. And then if you look at it here, so for loans from $1,000 up to $25,000, there is a minimum credit score of 570. There is no collateral requirement, and there is no personal guarantee requirement. So for loans above $25,000 up to $500,000, the minimum credit score is 570. There is a collateral required for loans above $25,000. The UCC UCC1 lien will be filed. And then there is also a personal guarantee requirement for loans over $200,000. Now for loans above 500 up to 2 million, the minimum credit score is 625. UCC lien 1 will be filed. And also there is a business real estate requirement. Just like the other loan up to 500, you also have to provide a personal guarantee for loan above 200,000 here. And again, normal operating expenses are the like payroll, rent, inventory, etc. Uses of proceeds for EIDL loans. You can make payment and prepay commercial debt, and you can make regularly scheduled payments for federal debt. These are basically the highlights of some of the changes that we already talked about. Affiliation rules have been simplified, expansion of methods of eligibility for industries hard hit by COVID to meet program size requirements, and then limit to total loans for a single corporate entity, which is up to $10 million. I think these are some examples of the NAICS codes with industry names. And then we talked a little bit about the exclusivity period, which was October 8th. We are already past that, so I'm going to skip this slide. And then these are normal average processing times, given if everything that you have submitted is correct and SBA does not need any additional documents from you. But then these are subject to change based on individual circumstances. So you basically go to sba.gov//EIDL and you apply for the SBA's economic injury disaster loan online directly. And then once you submit all that information, then you'll receive emails, and then you'll be invited to open an account with the SBA's portal and then follow prompts from there. One thing that I do want to remind you all is the deadline to apply for SBA's economic injury disaster loan is December 31st, 2021. However, we encourage borrowers to apply as soon as possible if you're planning on applying for this loan. And of course, the deadline is December 31st, 2021, or until the program funds run out. Okay, with that, I'm going to stop sharing the slides. I'm going to share a website here that has frequently asked questions for EIDL, economic injury disaster loan, and I'll also talk about the grant program. Okay. Let's see here. All right, Heather, can you see my screen? Or maybe that was the wrong one. Hold on just a second. Okay. How about now?
Yes.
Can you see the program overview?
Yeah, program overview and then the targeted EIDL advance.
Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted to see. Okay, good. So, so with the applicants for the COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan may be eligible to receive up to $15,000 in funding from SBA that does not need to be repaid. The advances are similar to a grant, but without the typical requirements that comes with a US government grant. To receive an advance, you must first apply for a COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan. You do not need to accept the loan or be approved for the loan to receive an advance. Once you apply for the loan, SBA will invite you via email to apply for one of the advanced programs if your business is located in a low-income area. There is a map where you can click on that link and put your business address and see if your business is located in a low-income area. Please do not submit duplicate COVID-19 economic injury disaster applications. Then I often get calls where people ask me, if there is a separate process to apply for the grant. There isn't. You have to apply for the loan. If you are in a low-income community, you'll receive a link to apply for the grant program. Okay. Now, there are two programs. One is the targeted economic injury disaster loan advance, and the other is supplemental. So for the targeted, you may receive up to $10,000 if you meet the following program requirements. You have to be in a low-income community as defined in section 45DE of the Internal Revenue Code. However, there is a mapping tool. Like I said before, you click on that tool, put your business address, and you would know whether or not your business is in a low-income community. The other requirement is you have to demonstrate more than 30% reduction in revenue during an 8-week period beginning on March 2, 2020 or later. And then the third requirement is you have to have 300 or fewer employees. And again, I'll share a link of this website with you as well. That way you have all the detailed information about these requirements. So if you meet all these three requirements, then you may be eligible for that grant up to $10,000. Now, in addition to that $10,000, if you meet some additional requirements, you might get a supplemental targeted advance grant up to $5,000. So this also has some requirements. The key difference here is in addition to being in a low-income community, now instead of that 30% reduction in revenue, you have to prove more than 50% economic loss during an 8-week period beginning on March 2, 2020 or later compared to the same period of the previous year. And you have to have 10 or fewer employees. So if you think about it, you would meet these requirements, you'll most likely receive a targeted EIDL advance. And if you meet additional requirement, you'll receive the supplemental targeted advance. Okay. And there are frequently asked questions about the targeted and supplemental advance, which you can click on this link and go through them. Many of your questions are most likely already answered there. And then we receive quite a few phone calls about advanced funds being returned by the banks. So please, when you apply for these economic injury disaster loans, a couple of things like make sure your phone number is correct, your email address is correct, your bank information is correct, or at least you're going to have those email, phone numbers, or bank accounts for the foreseeable future until the decision is made on these loans and you receive these funds. In an event your funds are returned by banks, there are processes in place to redisperse those funds. It has to go through a process. It is not as simple as just changing the bank account number or just changing the email address or phone number. There are processes in place to mitigate fraud and to protect the integrity of the program. So it is a process. It has to go through the process. We do not have the ability to make any of those changes here locally. Okay. With that, I think I had shared everything that I wanted to. We are going to open up for any questions you might have. And also, if you're located here in Southwest Missouri and you have applied for this economic injury disaster loan or targeted and supplemental advance and have not heard anything, or you feel like you're lost, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I know we cannot make any changes to your application, but we have read-only access to some of the information, and we can do further research and see what's going on with your application.
Ram, we have one person in the chat that has is looking for some additional help. Can you let them know what's the best number to reach you at to call? Or can we put that in the chat?
Yeah, sure. We'll put our phone number in the chat. I know some of you are probably just listening in, so I'll provide our number as well. So for Christian Tadani, Outreach and Marketing Specialist, his number is 417-501-0542, 417-501-0542, and my number is 417-889-6912. And make sure you have your application number when you reach out to us. Okay.
Sandra. I see, Sandra, you're muted.
Her computer is locked up, Heather.
Oh, okay.
She can't unmute for some
Okay.
reason. She's
All
having
right.
a weird technical issue.
Okay. Well, we're seeing that we have another chat where somebody, Ram, actually did receive an EIDL loan, but they did not receive the link for the 15,000. Could you maybe address why that might be the case?
There might be many scenarios in that, right? So one, the key factor is your business has to be located in a low income area. So what I would advise is once we send all this information to participants today, click on that link, put your business address and see if you are located in a low income community or not, your business. And if that is the case, then you can send an email to disastercustomerservice@sba.gov requesting that link. And again, that's one word, disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. Or you can also call the hotline, 1-800-659-2955. All right, Heather, you're muted, so I cannot hear you.
Can you repeat that number? I'll put it in the chat. 1-800.
659-2955.
All right.
So you'd basically call that number, provide your application number, and let them know that your business is located in low income community. You check that, and then you'd like to get that invitation for the targeted and supplemental advance grant.
Okay. And then we have another question, Ram. We've been asked, are the loans or advances available to businesses that started in March of 2020?
So one of the requirements to be able to apply for SBA's economic injury disaster loan is you have to be in business as of January 31, 2020. January 31, 2020. You have to be in business as of that time.
Okay.
That's one of the requirements.
Okay.
And if you have incurred business-related expenses by that time, you can potentially apply and substantiate that during your application. We have had instances where there are some businesses that have incurred substantial expenses as of that time with that process of trying to get into business.
Right. So what if someone has received an EIDL advance per the number of employees during the initial part of the pandemic? Does that allow them to participate in this particular EIDL advance program?
I see. So those are all three of these are different programs, right? So I'll give you an example. Maybe that will help you out a little bit.
Okay.
So let's say I'm a small business owner and I had applied for the economic injury disaster loan back in 2020. And then when I applied for that application, I had checked that check mark that said, I would like to be considered for targeted advance or EIDL advance. So back then, if I had 3 employees, I most likely received $3,000. The funding for that program came from a different bucket. It was called an EIDL advance or economic injury disaster loan advance. Now, in addition to that, now if my business is in a low income community, and if I receive that invitation to apply for targeted EIDL advance and supplemental EIDL advance, what happens is if I meet all those requirements for targeted EIDL advance, they will give me $7,000 to bring me up to that $10,000. And then if I meet additional requirements for supplemental, then I'll get that additional 5,000. So at any rate, if someone received EIDL advance grant before, and if their business is in a low-income community, they most likely already received that invitation for targeted and supplemental advance applications. If not, they are in the process. At any rate, you can check your business address in that link. We'll email it to you. And then if you feel like, if you know that you are in a low-income community, and you can certainly call the hotline and ask them to send you that application link. And of course, you have to meet other requirements as well.
Okay. We have another question here. It says, we purchased a business that has been in business since 1972. It was going to close because of COVID on December 31st, 2020. And we felt it could make it in spite of COVID. We took ownership January 1st, 2021. Is any of the COVID loans available, or do we need to go standard SBA loan?
So we do not know the totality of circumstances for that one. So I encourage you to reach back out to us and maybe we can discuss further.
Okay. And then
there are many variables. There are many variables like, has the business already received a loan before? Because economic injury disaster loans, COVID-19 related or any other, you can only get once. So for instance, if people have a business have already applied for economic injury disaster loan, if you're qualified, you can certainly request an increase, but you cannot apply again. That's why I was discouraging people to apply duplicates. So, like I said, we do not know the totality of circumstances for that. So please get back to us. We'll do a thorough research and provide you a response.
Okay. We have been requested to provide the contact information for the second advance program again. Maybe Christian can put that into the link. Would that be just you, Ram, directly, or would there be a website you would suggest they go to?
For the targeted and supplemental advance?
Right.
So basically for that, I'll put this link here in the chat box real quick. Okay. And we'll also email these links to you all the people that registered for this event.
Perfect.
Okay.
So now it's just not a government program. Now it's actually people behind the program that everyone on this call, on this webinar, will actually have contacts both through both through Ram, Christian, and the SBDC to really get the assistance they need to navigate it. I know it's a lot of information.
Yeah, if you're confused, please don't hesitate to reach out. Like I said before, we cannot make any changes to your application, but we can certainly do a thorough research and point you towards the right direction.
Are there any other questions for Ram or Christian? Also, what is the link to confirm poor income area, please? So the link to determine if you're located in a LMI or low to moderate income community.
Okay, I'm putting that in the chat here. Give me just a minute.
Perfect.
And we'll also include that in the email correspondence follow-up that we send out. Yes, I am back. You guys could see me, but my screen was locked up and I couldn't do anything. Ram just did put that in the chat, but we'll include that too. So you can check out. I have had some situations where you put the address in and it doesn't show up. If you run into that, please reach out to one of us to help support, because we definitely want to make sure that you're able to check that.
And I see another message. Anyone specific I can reach out to? It's really the people on this call, Sandra, Ram, and Christian, that you need to reach out to that can really help you. I don't know how you can request a new loan officer with the program, though. Maybe one of you can answer that question.
No, you cannot request a loan officer for the program.
Right.
The way system is set up is it's a workflow based system, and once appropriate applications made to the assigned loan officer, then they'll reach out to you directly for additional information and loan closing documents and things like that. But prior to that happening, we do not have the ability to connect you with a loan officer.
Yeah, if I could just touch on that too, Ram. So loan officers sometimes change in this program too. It doesn't always just sit with one loan officer or case manager. Oftentimes, if there's more background work, that work is done and then represented to the loan officer for decisioning. These things change as you're floating through.
Okay, we've received 2 more questions. One is, if one applied for and received the initial EIDL advance, but did not receive the loan, does that allow one to receive this loan if approved for the 2 programs referenced?
Yes, given they meet all the new requirements.
Okay. And then another one, can you ask to confirm that costs without income are equivalent to losing 30% of income? This business started in March of 2020.
I think this is a unique case as well. So let's get offline and then let's try to understand what exactly you're trying to explain there for that reduction.
So reach out to Ram directly for that.
I didn't see any other questions. Anybody that's still on with us have additional questions, or did you get all of those answered already?
Hopefully we didn't miss any.
I don't think so, unless when my screen was frozen on there.
Right.
So Heather, I will let you wrap it up. I just want to say again, thank you for everybody for joining us and attending. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Christian, for joining us and sharing the information on programs to help support our small businesses in the communities in which we serve.
And don't let these programs be daunting. I know it seems like there's a lot of steps you have to take, but the money is available if you follow the instructions, reach out to people here for help, but you also just have to fit in the parameters. And I think both Ram and Christian did a great job of laying out the parameters of both programs. So don't hesitate to get the help you need so that this money can be available to help you, because we don't really know what's in store with COVID moving forward and how it's going to affect your business. So definitely take advantage of these programs. I know, Sandra, you will be sending out an evaluation form. It will be an online link that will be set to all the attendees. Please take a moment to fill that out. That really provides us feedback on how to improve our webinars and answer questions. And obviously, if there's other topics you need, let us know. We'll put in Ram's email in the chat, and everything's going to be posted. Anything else that you need, Sandra? I want to thank Christian and Ram too for all their help.
No, just to say, thank you again. The recording, we did have something in the chat about that. As Heather said, it will be posted on sbdc.missouristate.edu within 48 hours, so you'll have access to that. We will also be sending out that follow-up email that will include the slides and contact information, so you have resources to reach out to.
Okay, we had one last question that just popped in for clarification. Okay, it's been answered. Oh, no, here, for clarification, you'll only receive an EIDL link if you're in a low-income area, correct? That is correct. It will be an invitation, is what I understand.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I just want to clarify that so for the economic injury disaster loan, you apply online yourself.
Right.
And if this is only for the EIDL advance or target a supplemental advance, then yes, that's when you'll receive an invitation if you meet low-income community eligibility requirement. I just want to kind of make that clear, because I don't want people to be under the impression that they have to receive a link to apply for EIDL.
Right.
But Ram, and you shared this earlier, they do have to apply for an EIDL to be eligible for the targeted or the and or the supplemental targeted advance, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
And then previously there was some confusion. You know, if you're interested in just the loan piece of it, you do not have to be in a low income community. So I want to clarify that as well.
And then those applications for just the loan have to be in by December 31st of this year. Is that correct?
That is correct. December 31st of this year or until program funds run out. So if someone is planning and applying, the best advice we can give is apply as soon as possible, and also leverage our resource partners like the Missouri Small Business Development Center network. I'm sure Heather Fisher's team can also assist you with some of these programs, and you do not have to do everything on your own. And you know, I know Sandra and her team, Tara and her team, they have helped many small business owners apply for these. So they are very familiar with the parameters and things like that as well.
If there's no other questions, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and don't hesitate to reach out to any of us for assistance.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.